On this auspicious occasion of International Yoga Day, let us begin our program and let us celebrate listening to none other than Professor Mahadevanji. So let us begin with some invocation song.
योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणम् सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं श्रीमते अनन्ताय नागराजाय नमो नमः.
Hari Om. Welcome on this auspicious occasion of International Yoga Day. This June 21 is celebrated as International Yoga Day, and as we know that yoga is gift to the whole humanity, whole world by India. And when I think about Indian wisdom is not pertaining to only geography of India, but this is my strong conviction that India, that is what is called as India, the geographical part, is the custodian of universal world wisdom. And you will appreciate that when the entire humanity was searching for its first alphabet, was searching for its first language or literature, was searching for the first way of civilization, by that time, India had produced already the time-tested wisdom-related literature, which are called Vedas and Upanishads. And as we know that there is only one Veda, of course. Sometimes we say there are four Vedas. There is only one Veda, actually quadrifurcated into four parts: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, and Atharva Veda. And from there, series of Upanishads come. And today is International Yoga Day, and yoga is a word which has become very popular with a book called Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Patanjali Yoga Sutra, if I remember well, was written about 150 years before Christ. And there was a king called Pushyamitra Shung who was ruling from Patliputra. And in his court, there was one learned person called Patanjali who gave Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And on this day of International Yoga Day, I would just like to remind ourselves about Patanjali Yoga Sutra. You see, it is a surprising book. It is a mesmerizing book. It is a mysterious book. Why? Because there are only 196 sutras. There are only 196 sutras in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And except one sutra, every sutra can be written only in one line because they are so condensed, so high density statements. That's why 196 sutras can be written in 197 lines, because one sutra is a bit longer, has to take 2 lines. Only in 197 lines, you see, the entire journey has been described by Patanjali, the journey from point A to point B. Point A means where the person is ignorant, has not tested the elixir or nectar of his or her own being. From that state of ignorance, and only after 196 aphorisms, sutras, the person has achieved nirbij samadhi. So this is very surprising that how our literature is a great gift to the entire humanity, that only 197 lines can take you from point A to point B, from complete ignorance to complete enlightenment. And enlightenment also has been described of various stages, like Sabij Samadhi, Nirbij Samadhi, Savikalpa Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So the highest point, the zenith of understanding of consciousness can be achieved only by properly digesting 196 aphorisms of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So yoga is a very, very deep concept. Yoga at the ordinary level is that yoga means basically addition, a meeting with someone. And at the most, let us say, grossest level, I can say that yoga deals with my physical body, which has developed certain kind of disequilibrium. I should meet with my own equilibrium at the level of my physical body is also yoga. At the higher level, the yoga is that I must be possessing a mental body that is in equilibrium. And before that, I must be able to breathe myself properly. You see, Sarvasar Upanishad says, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. At all first four levels, we have to have yoga, so that at the fifth level of Anandamaya Kosha, we are established in supreme bliss. And yoga has been described, apart from Patanjali Yoga Sutra, in other places of Upanishad and also in Bhagavad Gita very beautifully. At one place, Bhagavad Gita says, and it may be one definition of yoga, samatvam yoga uchyate, getting established in supreme equilibrium, in complete placidity is yoga, samatvam yoga uchyate. And this has been highlighted in many ways in many literature under the, let us say, under the guidance of many seers, samatvam yoga uchyate, that yoga is achieving the supreme equilibrium. And one description of yoga has become very popular in academic institution, and that is about yoga karmasu kaushalam. This has become more popular in academic institution because you will find, I can, if you give me a chance to prepare, I can give you 25 celebrated academic institutions in India. In their emblem, this word would be there, these words would be there, that yoga karmasu kaushalam. If I remember well, this comes from the 50th shloka of second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and this says yoga karmasu kaushalam, and this is a misunderstood sutra. I will say that yoga karmasu kaushalam, we have interpreted that having excellence in work is yoga. Having excellence in work is yoga, but that is a grosser meaning. More subtler meaning is that doing a work established in yoga through karma yoga is kaushalam. That your effectiveness is doing the work by getting established in karma yoga. That is your effectiveness. And what we have interpreted, that excellence in work is yoga. But let us see if there is inauspicious karma that I am doing, and I am very effective or efficient in doing inauspicious karma, that cannot be yoga. So this is very interesting. That can be second definition of yoga in Bhagavad Gita. And third definition and last point from my side is that one definition of Bhagavad Gita is again wonderful, and that says that tang sukh dukh viyog sangitam yog, that is getting established above the duality of sukh dukh, or let us say any other duality, success, failure, or let us say joy, sorrow, sukh dukh sanyog viyog sangitam, that is sukh and dukh, these two exist, and going beyond that, transcending sukh dukh, transcending any A, B, which are actually in duality, transcending basically joy and sorrow. So sukh dukh sanyog viyogam yog sangitam. It is basically two negatives being applied in this sutra, and this says that if you go beyond this duality, you are established in yoga. Very interesting things are there, but at this juncture, I would also like to remind us, let us be first physically fit, and as Ashtanga Yoga says, yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. These are 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga, and today we have none other than Professor B. Mahadevan Sahab, who is a professor at Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, with us. And let me say very humbly that at this present time, whenever we think about application of yoga at workplace, application of spirituality at workplace, bringing wisdom of Bhagavad Gita and other Upanishadic dictum at the level of managerial issues. When we think about these all issues, we have to think about the contribution of Professor B. Mahadevanji. Professor B. Mahadevanji is a yogi. He is professor basically of operations management, and he has enormous contribution in that field also. But apart from that, he has decided to contribute, and for last more than 2 decades, I know his work, and his work in the field of yoga, spirituality, its application in the field of management, and its use for managers, they are enormous. And as we know about him, that he is alumni of IIT Madras, from where he got his MTech and PhD in industrial management. And then after serving at various places, including XLRI and a stint at IIT Delhi, he chose to come to IIM Bangalore. And since then, he has been spreading light throughout, let us say, the world in the field of application of spirituality in management. He has also been serving the cause of Sanskrit to the whole world, and has worked as advisor on application of Sanskrit in various fields to the Government of India, Ministry of Education. And apart from that, his contributions are enormous. He has written numerous articles. He has conducted numerous workshops. He has provided wisdom through his numerous talks. Last time when we were together during one talk, and that was in 2016 at Bhopal, and we were just sharing the same dais, and I enjoyed listening to him very closely that time. And that was the occasion of Kumbh, because Mahakumbh in earlier days was celebrated not only to take bath, but also to take bath in the pool of knowledge. And people used to discuss and debate. And for that, we had gathered together in 2016 in Bhopal. That was my last time when I met. And after that, unfortunately, I could not meet him physically. But I wish pandemic should go early. I should reach Bangalore, or he should reach to our campus. I would like to see that Professor Mahadevan reaches us physically as soon as possible. Now, without losing much time, I welcome Professor B. Mahadevan Sahab to share his wisdom words with all of us. And let me tell you, Professor Mahadevan, that in your audience, the entire family of IIM Trichy has gathered to pick up the elixir words from your side. Thank you. Welcome, Professor Mahadevan.
Thank you, Dr. Pawanji. I think after such a beautiful and a wonderful introduction to yoga in such a short 6-7 minutes, my 40 minutes is probably not required. I think you very nicely put the whole thing in place. Nevertheless, having agreed, I think I should also go through this process of sharing my thoughts. In 2017, I was in Paris on Yoga Day. Government of India asked me to go to Paris, and then we had a very interesting sharing of ideas on yoga. I think it's my equal privilege to be with IIM Trichy on a Yoga Day today and share a few thoughts with you. I think there is a lot which already been told about yoga, so let me keep it. It's a very nice background with which we can go forward. All that I want to share with you is some of the very insightful things about yoga. But before that, I want to establish why in business schools and in corporate settings, yoga is inevitable today. So I will start from there and then move on with a few ideas and end with some ideas on neuroscience, what it is saying. I think I will sort of put all of them together in as much time as possible. Now, if we go into any business school, we end up only talking these things. We all the time keep saying that there is job stress and burnout, and everywhere this has become an issue which we need to sort of worry about. But I've been extensively reading about this in our mainstream literature, in Academy of Management and in other journals and so on. So let me just quickly put you things. I think the topmost issue for all of us, I understand there are a lot of professors here, I want to tell you, the biggest challenge we need to face and prepare our students is there is a deprived meaning at workplace. This is the number one challenge all over the world people are facing. Whether it is a manager in a multinational corporation, whether it is a priest in a temple, or whether it is somebody in an NGO, everybody seems to face this. There is a deprived meaning at workplace. If we don't know how to get them recognize this and understand what it is, this jobs stress and burnout will never go, because human beings essentially and inherently have an urge to make meaning. If we can't make meaning, it all means stress. So that's a starting point for the whole problem that we face. We should know how to make meaning of life. That's where yoga and the Indian literature very richly deserves a mention and a serious discussion. Now, deprived meaning will lead to mental stress, and worldwide, workers are facing extended work hours, work overload, job burnout. Everybody talks about it, and people don't know how to actually handle this issue. Everybody keep talking about it. There are things which are happening, okay, and there are very interesting literature coming out now. And what it is trying to sort of tell is there are people who are willing to say, we are willing to give our salary, give us time for ourselves. They are saying that, those kinds of things are coming. American managers want a deeper sense of meaning and fulfillment on the job, even more than they want time and money off. They say all those are fine. We are now started realizing there is something more that we really need. These kinds of messages are echoing very strongly. And also there are strong messages saying spirituality at workplace. People are saying work can provide opportunity for spiritual growth. Why are you talking this 24/7 just productivity all the time? Is there nothing more in life? Do you think a human being is a machine? So these is all getting stronger. These voices are getting stronger, and people are slowly realizing that we have to go one full circle and then find out how to solve our problem. I mean, we take a lot of pride in spending all our time in productivity, whether it is finance course or marketing course or operation. All the time we talk tools and techniques. Whereas, when I was the retainer for Deloitte, Chicago and New Jersey, they came here for recruiting people in IIM Bangalore. So the gentleman out of courtesy came and met me. And he said, sir, I'm telling you, you may be teaching very wonderful things. I agree with all of you, with whatever you are doing. But let me tell you, if you don't train your MBA students to tolerate ambiguity, this is the word he used. Tolerance to ambiguity, if you don't know how to actually make them imbibe that value, all this teaching will result in stress. So we are very structured. We put everything in black and white. We have models. We have, everything in black and white, except some nice colleagues from OB area who may be actually treading into other areas. I think it's important that we actually expand the canvas of the perspective we give, which must include all these. This is what is the international cry. Now, there are so many, surveys. I just take one of them. Top causes for stress in the US. I mean, look at this. This is a very interesting list, because what you will see in this list is, except item 5, all other items are mental. Only item 5 is physical. The rest are all related to mental. Whether you like it or not, that is the reason for stress. Co-worker tension, work overload, medical health crisis, divorce, television overload, media overload, inability to release adrenaline, whatever you take, all of them, the root cause of all these stresses are actually mind. And if we are not able to address and give a good sense of what is this, see, mind is such an extraordinary piece of gadget God has given us. It's extremely a powerful gadget. And if you don't know how to use a gadget, think of you having a gadget with no instructions manual. That will be disaster. So we don't teach instruction manual about mind at all. We teach everything else. So therefore, unless we do bring this instruction manual for this wonderful gadget called mind, which God has given us, it can be a recipe for disaster, which is what we are seeing in all these studies that we have. So essentially what is happening, burnout is actually an outcome of internal psychological factors. There's a lot of psychological pressure which is cooking up, which finally manifests as burnout. And if you ask what burnout will do, well, the end result of stress experience Burnout is actually the end result of the stress. You don't know how to cope with stress, and that finally, manifests as burnout. But it doesn't stop there. It results in symptoms of exhaustion, irritation, level 2. In video games, you have level 1, level 2, level 3. Like that, this burnout also can take us through different levels. So, symptoms of exhaustion, irritation, ineffectiveness, which can lead to discounting of self and others. I mean, this is the terminal stage. People, stop, they desocialize. They, take everything on them, which results in serious problems of health. Today, we have pushed all of them under the carpet. Once this happens, we send them and then they give some medicine for stress busters and so on. The problem and solution doesn't lie there. The problem solution lies in some of the beautiful prescriptions in the Indian systems. Yoga seems to be the central piece in solving these kinds of problems. So therefore, I think we can't take it very lightly. So let's try to understand this mind game. Because unless we understand this mind game, I mean, one can have an extraordinary intellect. One can be a top-notch gold medalist. In fact, I'll tell you, one of my classmates is All India 4th rank. Completely a destroyed person today. All India 4th rank in JEE. Such a wonderful person is completely destroyed. Because, he was intellectually sound. Full stop. There was no comma after that. That kind of, students we should not train students like that. That's not worth. We can't prepare somebody for half of their life and leave the remaining half as an exercise which you have to find in your own way. So I think understanding the mind game is very important. I will quickly take a little bit from Bhagavad Gita. I'm not in great detail, little bit here and there, and then I'll move on. Before that, I want to show you something. And, I'm just going to take you a train of statements. You just see. There is a ring of the bell on the wall clock that reminds me of the temple that I visited today morning. I'm reminded of the tall person who mentioned about his daughter who is in Chicago. My memory goes to the visit that I made Chicago 14 years ago. I stayed at my brother's friend's house. Daughter is Lakshmi. I am reminded of the next neighbor of the same name. She served us masala dosa when we visited their house last week. Hotel Saravana Bhavan makes good masala dosa. Masala dosa contains onions. Onions are not sattvic food and is taboo. My mother-in-law doesn't take onions. When onion prices went up, Delhi government lost the elections long time back. Price rise is the problem we face today. My Sarun mate keeps demanding more salary. Actually, there is a connectivity in all these statements. Don't think these statements are all unrelated. This is the chatter of the mind for a nanosecond. If my mind of a normal person, if an agitated person's mind chatter, if you take a transcript of it, we'll have to cut all the trees in the world in about half an hour's time. That much is the amount of vibration that happens in the mind. I'm not making an ordinary, a hypothetical statement here. This is how our mind will work. So this mind chatter is an indication of its power and its limitation if you don't know what to do with that. The ability to go like this in 1,000 dimensions, it's its power. But then if you don't know how to handle it, we are in trouble actually. Yeah. Now I want to show you this picture. People tell me, I ask them, what is this picture? Oh, this is that beautiful picture of Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is the Sarathi and Arjuna is sitting there. It's such a beautiful picture. No, that's only a very superficial understanding of this picture. If you want to understand this picture, you have to read Kathopanishad. And this is so beautifully described in Kathopanishad. Shloka 41 of Bhagavad Gita also in chapter 3 also talks about it. Indriyani paran yahu indriyebhya param manasastu para buddhi buddhestu parasastu saha. There is one beautiful shloka. That shloka actually is the manifestation of this figure. I want you to think about this figure. That's why I brought this figure. Let me tell you what this picture is actually telling. Actually, this picture is saying something which Yama was telling to Nachiketas in Kathopanishad. What did he say? He said, Buddhim tu saratim viddhi. That's what he said. Now, if you look at this picture is actually about a life journey. So, in a chariot, you are actually making a journey. So it is actually a life journey towards some fulfillment. All of us are having our own goals. Goals can be different, but all of us have goals. Nobody can deny that. So this chariot, equivalent of chariot is the body. In this journey, life journey, we have this body. But And then you have the horses. The horses are the sensory system equivalent of us. Please understand, chariot is not motive. Chariot cannot even move an inch. It is an inert matter. Only the horses can draw the chariot. In the same way, the mind is inert. It is only the senses. As I am talking to you, I can go to World Trade Center in New York. I can go to, some place in Singapore. My mind can go all there. It is the sensory organs which it can move. My body cannot move. So horses are the sensory system. The manas are the control for the horses. Imagine you give up the, reins. The 5 horses will go on 5 different directions and you will be in serious trouble. So the mind is the equivalent of those, that reins that we have. Then the charioteer is one who keeps the reins. That's why, Yama was telling to Nachiketas, Buddhim tu saratim vidhi. Understand, the buddhi ought to be the charioteer. The buddhi must hold. And the king is the adhikari. Your soul, you are sitting in the chariot. You want to reach a place. So this is the equivalent of actually life. So the point here is the control must be not with the mind. The control must be with the buddhi. That's what he is saying. And that doesn't happen to all of us. That doesn't happen to most of us most of the time. Not all of us. It doesn't happen to most of us most of the time. The CEO seems to be the manas. Whereas Yama was telling to Nachiketa, the CEO must be buddhi, not manas. So question is, what do we do about it? These kinds of issues are very, very important. So Bhagavad Gita talks about so many things. I'm sorry. For example, it says, Uddaret Atmana Atmanam na Atmanam avasadeyet Atmaiva Bandhuhu Atmanam Atmaiva Ripuratmanah. He says, Bhagavad Gita says, the mind, your mind is your friend or your enemy. It is in your hands. You have to let it function in a particular way. That's what, Bhagavad Gita is saying. All these are in chapter 6. The entire yoga is in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, actually. Okay. Then it says, Asamshayam Mahabaho Mono Nurdin Graham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena Chagrihi. Arjuna asked, Krishna, stop all these. You are all telling some nice things, but then mind cannot be controlled. Don't waste your time. It's like catching air in an open air system. How do you catch air? He says, it is like that. Don't waste your time like that. Then Krishna said, Asamshayam Mahabahu. I agree with you. There is no doubt that catching hold of mind is very difficult. But you can do what is called Abhyasa and Vairagya. There are 2 tools Krishna gives. One is called Abhyasa, another is called Vairagya. With that you can do. That's what Krishna said. Then there is a nice shloka. Yukta hara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna avabodasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. In fact, Pavanji actually quoted a few slokas after this. Dukkha sanyoga viyoga is what he talked about and so on. He says moderation of mind, moderation of everything that we do is very important in life. Krishna is saying, if you can moderate things, don't overdo, don't swing the pendulum to the both extremes. If you can moderate, he says, with yoga and moderation, it will remove all your dukkhas. So like this, there are so many ideas. There are many more. I'm only sprinkling a few here just to tell you that Bhagavad Gita has at length talked about mind control in chapter 6, Atma Samyama Yoga and so on. Now, what is this yoga? There's a lot of misconception about this yoga. So I want to sort of clarify this about this yoga and meditation. First of all, many people think yoga means it's a physical exercise. You have to stretch and do some complex. So that's why you have power yoga, you have this yoga, that yoga. You can actually, it's a complex way of twisting your hand and body, and that's what people think. That's just the asana part. As Pavanji was saying, it is one of the 8. Okay, yoga is not about asanas alone. Certainly, it is one part of it. It is not about a physical exercise alone. Yoga is not about mats, not about dresses, not about tiger and deer skin that it has to be spread and all that. There is a huge market now for yoga. They come with different types of branding it, and as a business management, you can understand what I am talking. Yoga is not about any of those. And there are people who make money out of it. Good luck to them. Let them make money. But let us not get deceived that that is yoga. Yoga is not something which can be, injected through surgical intervention, or, somebody can outsource for you, somebody can do something and then finally put it into you, everything, all stress is now de-stressed and so on. No, it's not possible. Okay. And this is the most important thing. Yoga is not a compartment. There are people who do yoga 5 to 6 to 7 in the morning. Remaining 23 hours, they do everything which is antithesis of yoga. They do 1 hour of yoga and destroy the 23 hours by doing things which are antithesis to yoga. Therefore, don't look at yoga as a compartment. Yoga is a way of life. People don't understand it. It is not 6 to 7 you do. I know people who say, no, I am now on, diet. 6 days they are on a diet and they more than compensate it on the 7th day. They get the hell out of it on the 7th day. They go on a Sunday to a place and then eat left, right, center, and then finish off all 6 days of good work is over. So that kind of practices, that's why moderation. Yukta ahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna avabodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkaha. I showed that shloka just before. Moderation, yoga talks about a certain way of looking at life. It's not one compartment between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Don't, take yoga like that. Yoga is actually an intense preparation for a samadhi. Samadhi is not what they show in movies. There's one fellow sitting and then there's an anthill over him and then smoke comes out of the anthill after some time. They're all just, drama because they don't know how to communicate. Don't take it serious. Samadhi is, you have to be in samatva. You have to be in a mental equipoise. That is called samadhi, which is very useful for a manager. Don't think samadhi is not useful for a manager. It's extremely important for a manager. Only then you can handle, challenges of life. So yoga is an intense preparation for samadhi. Now, Bhagavad Gita talks about, so it's a very important tool. If you ask me, is it an important tool for managers? Of course. If you can't handle your mind, you are destroyed. I don't want to be a great manager. At the end of it, I become a mental wreck. That's an utter failure of my life. I don't want to be like that. And if people go on that path, I will wish them good luck. And I'll take pity for them, actually. That's not what life is. We want our managers to be wholesome, 24/7, wholesome 360, all that we have to bring. And yoga can help to do all that. So there are very specific details. Chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita is absolutely fabulous. It's a cookbook approach. Step by step. Shloka 6.1 to 6.3, 6.30. 20 shlokas. It is a cookbook approach. What should you do? A, B, C, D, E. Like that it is written. For example, it talks about solitude. Ekaki yatachittatma. He says you should, practice being alone. I tell many of my students ask me in IIM Bangalore in my Bhagavad Gita course, people ask me, sir, what do I do? I tell them 6 months. I said, what time you get up? Sir, 6 o'clock. Can you get up at 5:30? Yes, sir. Can you give half an hour for yourself? Give the remaining 23.5 hours for all other people in the world. Can you give half an hour for yourself? Sir, what should I do? Just close your eyes and sit for half an hour. They asked me, sir, what will happen? I said, I also don't know what will happen. You let us talk about it after 6 months. 99% of them never came back to me after 6 months because they actually knew what was happening. Very rarely people came to me. They understood what happened when they sat for keeping quiet alone for 6 months. That's what Krishna starts saying. Ekaki yatachittatma. Then he gave ideas of seating. He says, Stiram asanam atmanah. Don't sit on a shaky ground. You'll get very distracted. You should sit on a very nice place, which is comfortable. He gives some instructions and so on. Anyway, I'm not getting into that. Then he said, Tatra ekagram manakritva. Focus. Single pointed focus is what you should do. You need to focus. This is what he said. Then how do you focus? He gave some more ideas. So I brought the full shloka. It is so interesting. Samam kaya shiro grivam. Kaya is body. Shira is head. Griva is neck. He says align it in one axis. It should not be in some other axis. It should be in a single axis. Samam kaya shiro grivam. Dharayan. Achalam shiraha. Don't keep shaking your head. Achalam stiraha. Samprekshya. Look very carefully. Nasikagram. Tip of the nose. Then people will start looking at somebody else's nose. That's why he said swam. Your own nose. Instructions are very clear. He said, Nasikagram swam. Because the moment you say, look at the nose, they'll start looking at somebody else's nose. Because that is what our mind is always. So, swam. Dishascha anavalokayan. Go and look at here and there. Look at your tip of your nose. I mean, this chapter has such a level of detail. To really focus our mind, I thought I'll just show you a little bit of that, not to show much of it, little bit. Okay, so I just want to give you a little feel of yoga, but I will tell you we did some good studies in yoga and published them also. So I will show you one such study of impact of yoga way of life on managers. I'll just show you a little bit of that. Before that, we actually taught them this Ashtanga Yoga. Pawanji quickly gave a sort of sense of it. You have these 8 of them. This first 5 was called Bahiranga Yoga. Last 3 are called Antaranga Yoga. The first 5 are handling the outside world. And once you conquered your ability to handle your mind distraction in the outside world, then look at inside. So last 3 are for inside. Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi are when you turn inside. Whereas the first 5 are preparation for that turning inside. So asana, pranayama are meant for disciplining the body, keeping your body a little fit, okay, little bit flexible and all that kind of things. Then pratyahara is to stop taking out inputs from outside. Slowly you have to stop taking inputs from outside. Only then you can, process what is there inside. So all those, we taught them all these yoga way of life. I'll tell you the details of the study. So basically it was done in Grasim Industries Limited, a flagship company of Aditya Birla Group. Okay. And which had a consolidated revenue of 141 billion, profit of 20 billion. That was in 2007 when the study was done. It was a controlled experiment in one of their units called Birla Cellulose. Okay. Those who opted for these were divided into 2 groups, control group and treatment group. Okay. So 2 groups of 42 each. Group 1 was called yoga group. Group 2 was called physical exercises group. Okay. And the average work experience of sample was about 16 years. So, we are really talking about people who have covered enough ground in management. Their foot is on the ground. They are not flying anymore. They are on the ground. They have challenges to face in life, both on the family side, professional side, and everywhere. That's a kind of, they are approaching midlife crisis, if I were to say, sort of. Okay. So the yoga group had 30 hours of practice on asanas, pranayama, and some of the kriyas and so on, so 75 minutes every day, and 25 hours of lectures on Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, all those. On the other hand, physical exercise was training an equal number of hours for physical workout, spot jogging, bending, body rotation, hand and leg movements, etc., etc. They were also given lectures, but on success in life, not based on yoga, but based on modern thing, today's ideas and so on. And for both of them, job burnout was measured using a standard instrument called MBI, the martial arts burnout inventory, which is a very standard inventory. So we used that and measured the MBI before and after and all that kind of thing. So basically this was the one. 1,120 employees, 30 managers in the control group, 30 in the experimental group. We did the pre-study and the post-study measurement, and then we analyzed all those data and all that. So I'll just show you only a few of these results. As you find here, the pre minus post value was hugely positive in the yoga group, whereas it turned out to be negative, which means the stress and burnout was more after the exercise. In the case of the control group, the physical exercises group, whereas in our experimental group, the stress was, the burnout was much lesser. That's why it shows all are statistically significant, and it was quite positive. I mean, there are many results. I'm just showing a couple of them just to give you a little sense of what is happening and so on. And we also did, a t-test comparing the 2 groups, both at the pre and the post intervention. This is the difference between the groups. And what you find was both of them were statistically significant. Both of them are statistically significant in terms of the difference, but the magnitude was different as we could really. So, just to sort of conclude, there are many results. I just wanted to give you a feel of what it is. The yoga group showed significant job burnout reduction because P is 0.0000. I mean, more or less sort of, right? And the physical exercises group, actually burnout level went up. Surprisingly, it didn't even remain because the stress only went up. In addition to, I think the schedule of attending the practical and theory classes has put more stress on them, I think. And difference between the two groups, not significant prior to the experimental experiment, but statistically very significant at the end of the experiment. So very clearly this study showed, and then we went on to give them some recommendations of what do we do with this study, what is it actually pointing to, how to use yoga, all those kind of things we showed. I just want to conclude by actually showing a little bit of scientific ideas, what is being talked about also about yoga and meditation. I thought I'll just share a little bit of that also. As we all know, our brain has all these portions. You have the parietal lobe, you have the frontal lobe, and you have cerebrum, each one of them. We have done these basic sciences anyway. We know what each one of them is supposed to do. Okay, you have this brain stem which carries all the signals through, and all that we know. The question now really is, what is yoga playing any role? Thousands of papers, not one or two. Thousands of papers and serious work by people in Stanford and other places, neuroscientists, consciousness studies, they are all deep into it. And I little bit stepped into it, I came out of it because it was too much for me to read. It's not a good idea to waste my time like that because I realize there is so much that's going on. So the question is, what will happen and how is yoga coming into picture? So let me tell you, see, if you cut this brain like this, vertically, if you cut it into two pieces, take the cauliflower into two pieces like this, okay? Then now you have this view now. Now there is something called this corpus callosum, which is in the middle. The right hemisphere and left hemisphere, if you take, there is a bridge between the two called corpus callosum. The job of the corpus callosum, we are told that left brain controls the right side, right brain controls the left side. We are also told that left brain is analytical, right brain is, aesthetics and art forms. All these we are told in modern science. Modern science, conscious studies is also saying that the job of the corpus callosum is to send the signals from the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere. So it's like a postman. But what really happens is this postman is not faithful. What happens is some of the signals don't get delivered on this side. And some of these signals don't get delivered on this side. This is what happens normally. So if this is not happening, then this right brain, left brain coordinate, in fact, today's neuroscience scientific studies are saying left brain, right brain collaboration and coordination brings extraordinarily powerful people because they are balanced in everything in life. All these, what we talk about as titiksha, that's what Indian thing talk about, will happen if you have this corpus callosum is very good. Now what is happening is people have done extensive studies in yoga and meditation, and they are saying that the corpus callosum is becoming thicker when people are into yoga and meditation. The packets which are being sent from this side to that side is almost not lost. Better coordination, better ability to handle stress, all these people are talking today. So that is what, I have put 3 bullets here. Corpus callosum is wide, thick nerve tract, which divides these hemispheres, communicate between them. And meditation actually acts as a type of mental fitness. Greater degree of activation of the right hemisphere and all that are happening. So all these people are saying, which is what our ancestors have been doing it. That's why if you look at, even this pranayama, the breathing exercise, we breathe through one nose. Rechaka, Kumbhaka and all that, Puraka. We breathe through one nose and leave it through the other nose. Again, breathe through this nose. There are studies which show such a meditative practice increases the size of corpus callosum. Thickness of corpus callosum, the coordination increases and all that. So, we have just given up all these. I don't know where it is. All these are there. We need somebody from Stanford to come and tell us that all these are going to happen. We have dumped all of them saying these are all religion. Let me tell you, I run a full-blown course in Bhagavad Gita. And I have people for all religious faith who are extraordinarily happy about this course because there is no religion. There is a lot of religion to talk, but there's a lot of these things to talk in Gita. What I am sharing today with you is a leaf out of my 33 sessions, out of my 20 sessions, a little bit of from my session, I have pulled a little bit. And of course, something more here, just to tell you, we need to do all that with our students. Otherwise, we are not really helping them. I think it's time for me to stop. I want to just quote this. Manayeva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Bandhaya vishayasam muktye nirvishayam smritam. Manusmriti is being dumped today. You cannot dump Manusmriti. There are 2,755 shlokas. There are 100 shlokas in which I have objections. And that objections are also because, what we practiced 50 years back, we are not able to practice today. The society has changed in 50 years. What is contemporarily acceptable 50 years back is not acceptable today. So what is written 2000 years back, there are 200 shlokas which are not good, according to me. But I will not throw the baby with the bath towel. There are 2,755 55 shlokas of gem in Manusmriti. We have to read it seriously. I have just brought one from there. Manayeva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. He says, mind alone is the cause for bandhana or moksha. Very profound ideas are there in every scripture that we have. Yoga is a mechanism to keep this mind as a slave, not as a CEO. For us, mind turns out to be a CEO. You have to put it down. Buddhim tu saratim vidhi is what Yama told to Nachiketas. I think with these few words, I will only stop here to say that yoga is not an issue for time pass. It is actually a very serious tool for our health and wellness. So I don't think we should waste our time bringing religion. We are just beating our own ignorance. I think if we can take this very seriously on this yoga day, we are going to help ourselves. I'm not interested in helping others. I want to help myself first. We can help ourselves and in the process create a very healthy society, a society which is realistic, a society which is equipped with not just ideas of productivity and analytical thinking and urge to succeed and so on, but also an ability to handle life as it comes. That's what yoga is. I must take this opportunity to thank Dr. Pawan Kumar ji for this great opportunity. It's my proud privilege to be with all of you at IIM Trichy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mahadevan ji. And if you permit, 2-3 minutes time budget we have for question answer, if you permit.
Absolutely, sir. We will do that. No problem.
So my request would be that the one who wants to raise question, please just tell your name and say the question in one sentence, and we would request Professor Mahadevan to respond to that question. Please, if you feel so.
Professor, can I go first?
Go ahead.
Yes, okay. See, I am a very, very novice practitioner. I have a very rudimentary understanding of yoga. I'm nowhere near where you have reached. So just forgive me if this question sounds a little naive. My question is, you had said that Krishna has suggested in Gita that you should, while engaging in the practice of meditation, one should look at the nose, the tip of the nose. But there are certain schools, certain other areas where I've seen that closing the eyes is recommended. So,
okay, sir, I will tell you. If I have to climb Mount Everest, there are 20 base camps. When I am at level 0, I will not give details of the base camp number 20.
Okay.
So, because the reality changes. That's why when I tell my students, close your eyes for half an hour and let us talk about it after 6 months, they never wanted to talk about it because they have reached the first base camp. They have found the how to climb the next step up. So what Krishna says is at a certain level. Depending upon which level we are, we will be able to go beyond that. Just to tell you, sir, when I am 2 years old or 3 years old or maybe 5 years old, somebody told me that 5 plus 3 means 5 in the hand, 5 in the mind, 3 in the hand, after 5, 6, 7, 8. When I am doing PhD, I should not be saying 5 in the mind, 3 in the hand. That is a problem. But I should start like that. So in the same way, these are all, what Bhagavad Gita, Krishna put is rudimentary steps to start. He knows very well if we start, we will not even ask him. We will find our way. So that's the way I understand it.
Thank you. Next question.
Professor, good morning.
Yes, Vijaya, good morning. Yeah.
See, I wanted to understand, this control of mind is a very, very difficult thing. We go through so many thoughts. Even during sleep, sometimes we get disturbances. So chanting any God's name, Om Namah Shivaya, or whomever you like. That they say is one of the easiest way of How does it help? I just wanted to understand.
Yeah. So let me tell you, Vijay, see, all these are extremely complex ideas. So at a first level, when we say this, Krishna said, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grikhyate. He used two words, Abhyasa and Vairagya. These are the two pillars to actually control our mind. Now the question is, what is this Abhyasa? Then you have to get into a complete detailed description of what is Abhyasa. Then we have to talk about what is Vairagya. Then one has to get into all this. So many of what you say will come there. It's a matter of detail that that which is not, I show my students in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very different course. I run the course very differently. It's not like any other MBA course. For example, I show a 7-minute video. A Chinese lady is able to take a feather. Some of you might have seen it. So Chinese lady has taken a small feather, and on the top of the feather, she keeps rotating all the time. On the top of the feather, she puts wooden pieces. The last wooden piece is 30 feet long. And she puts, that is the 7th piece she puts on the top of it. And she keeps all the time rotating. So my students tell me, sir, this requires long years of practice. That's what is called Abhyasa. So mind control requires a very similar kind of, so there are details of that kind. So I think we'll get into too much of detailed discussion I just want to give you that sense actually.
Sure.
Thank you. We have space for a last question. One more question can come, please.
Okay. Sir, good morning. So it was again a very insightful session as always with you. My question is, you talked about tolerating ambiguity as an important managerial skill, and even in general in life. So what would be 2 or 3 things that one can practice to increase tolerance to ambiguity?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm asking both for myself, and if I go and teach in the class, I always go and tell, okay, you guys need to be kind of tolerant to ambiguity to go through strategic inflection points, etc. But I'm not able to give them concrete tools of how can they improve on that front.
Yeah, so very good question, Mani, actually. So tolerance to ambiguity cannot be taught beyond a point. You have to make them experience. Both for us, and I'll give you an example. For years now, I am not doing, because I occasionally teach operations management core course now. For the last 5-6 years, I have not been teaching. Occasionally only I teach, but I have been telling the students, I have practiced it also. Sometimes I give first of all, we have made it so structured. The biggest trouble we started with the MBA curriculum is we made it absolutely structured to the last minute. Right? That means we are telling them life, you can expect everything to the last detail, which is completely wrong. I would like to give a question paper which has 100 missing data, which has so much confusion in it. Right? I should be able to give a course out, and we have now imbibed all of them. We now say that even for every session, we need a detailed learning objective, and all kinds of words are being used. I think we are training our students saying that everything is known with certainty. This is the biggest disservice we do. I mean, we are doing some of them because we want to bring discipline. Otherwise, things go out of hands, even on the faculty side and so on. But what I'm saying is, can we practice it in the way we teach a course, the way we set a question, the way we allow discussions in the class? We should enrich with a lot of ambiguity. We should be able to bring a great deal of realization that, like, in fact, just today I had a discussion. See, we are discussing whether, we should use Digi Proctor or Digi Exam or Metal, and then we are not able to proctor well in Digi Exam and so on. I was actually telling, please don't proctor. It's a great opportunity for us. Next 2-3 years, some dishonest fellows will smart out over the honest fellows, but we will reach a situation where people will understand life out is like that when you step out of the campus. And we should find mechanisms to actually handle it. So I was telling, forget about this proctoring business. We'll spend a little more effort to find out how we can minimize it, copying and all that. But we make it so structured, so tight, so in black and white. I think if we can find more and more opportunities in teaching, in setting papers, in making them go through our own ways in many ways to the students, I think we will prepare a much better students in front of us. That's the only way tolerance for ambiguity will come, not by any theoretical inputs on that. They should, I should tell you, the best course I have had in IIT Madras was a course in which the day we joined the course, we are given the question paper for the final exam, which is 7 years old. And our professor says, my exam will start at 2 o'clock. My room, I have cut the door in such a way that there is gap for you to push the answer sheet below the door. You do whatever you want to do, push the paper here. Whatever time till tomorrow morning, when I come, I will collect the paper. Those are all the papers I will grade. That course sees me in good stead. It's full of ambiguity. Systems engineering was never taught to us with input, processing, output structure. It's all ambiguity. The question paper is known on day one. As we go for the course, we know this is the question paper we have to solve. So, that's the extreme. But can we make people practice? They will really do very well. Sorry, it's been a very long answer, but it's a very important issue. I think we need to find ways of addressing it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Mahadevan. And with your permission, let me have a prayer on the day of International Yoga Day, that let all persons be able to get the Sanidhya of Satpurusha like Professor Mahadevan. And these words are coming straight out of my heart. And your unique way of leading the students' interest, especially you have been focusing on creating managerial skills, but the way you have taken the responsibility created by yourself to show the kindly light to all the students and all the persons who come in contact with you. That's why today I am more convinced what is the role of satsanga in this life. So my prayer that everybody should get satsang with person like you. Thank you, sir, very much. And now I request our colleague, Professor Hari Kumar ji, to deliver vote of thanks. And after you, please, Hari Kumar ji, you complete your vote of thanks. You please ask us to stand for national anthem. Thank you.
Okay. Respected Chief Guest, Professor Mahadevan, respected Director, Dr. Pawan Singh, my dear faculty colleagues, staff colleagues, students, others in the audience, it is a pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event to commemorate Yoga Day 2021. I sincerely thank Chief Guest Professor Mahadevan for taking time out from his busy schedule and talking to us. It's a very insightful talk. Multiple things that he remarked. One is deprived meaning at the workplace leads to stress. Much of the stresses are mental. Further, that important point that it is buddhi, not manas. It should be guiding action. And the yoga becomes an important way to further this mind control. And Professor Mahadevan also gave us very good tips for practicing yogic meditation. Further, moderation, the importance of moderation, that underpins the yogic way of life. He also showed us empirically that yoga can reduce stressors, something he himself has done. Now, further, as studies by Ramachandran and others have shown, there is a mind-body connect, which is modern neuroscience, something that is increasingly being proven. And that connect is beneficially harnessed by yoga. So I'm reminded of a beautiful foreword by Yehudi Menuhin, the famous violinist who wrote foreword for P.K. Iyengar's book. And he talks about yoga as a liberating force, as this force that tries to liberate every latent potentiality in every cell in the body. This votive offering that the yogic practitioner offers, the reduced to your own body, you just offer. You try to play it like a violin to its best ability. And I think that is something that we got from Professor Mahadevan's talk. Thanks a lot, Professor. It was a very wonderful, enlightening talk. I also want to point to a few things that our director pointed out, Dr. Pawan Singh pointed out. Yoga involves union, the union between mind and the body, union between various living beings, union with others. It is about equilibrium. It is about placidity. It is also about transcending dualisms. There is this entire Descartesian idea of dualism, subject, object, mind, body, which is a Western philosophical idea, which has been fairly internalized. it has its benefits, but it also has its limitations, and transcending this Descartesian dualism between Sukh and Dukh, between victory and defeat, between various other dualisms, and moving towards a more equanimous state. That's something that he pointed out very well. And more importantly, before going to these steps, we also need to get into physical fitness, basic physical fitness. That's a very basic factor that we need to address. Thank you, Dr. Singh, for those wonderful words. And I also wish to, I'm very sure that this particular talk will help us move further along this road to carry out this beautiful practice, this wonderful practice, which nourishes the body as well as the soul, as well as the spirit. I thank Dr. Pawan Singh for planning and overseeing this event. I also thank all the faculty and staff members who played a role in coordinating and organizing this talk. Thanks are also due to Mr. Muthukumaran, CEO in charge, and his team of staff members for coordinating the event. I thank Mr. Sanjit and his IT team for providing the necessary IT support. I also thank all the faculty members and staff members who have participated today and contributed wonderfully. Also the students and others, the audience. It's been a really wonderful event, and so thanks to all of you. So we now come to the conclusion of this event. So let us conclude this this wonderful event by rising for the national anthem. Please rise for the national anthem.
So thank you all. Namaskar. Thank you very much, Professor Mahadevan Saab. My colleagues, my dear colleagues, dear students, let this Yoga Day charge us with a commitment to complete yoga, and let our practice be anvarat. That is abhyasetu vairagyecha, as Professor Mahadevan reminded from Bhagavad Gita. Let us have abhyas and continuity, and let us help each other. Thank you very much, Professor Mahadevan and all. Namaskar.